Just gonna do a little bit of boxing talk here, but everyone's talking about how Robert Garcia would be a pretty good fit for Errol Spence. This is a guy again. He's a creature of habit. He literally, and we've gone over this and beaten this dead horse over and over again. The guy could not leave square, square, triangle to save his life in that fight, and the last sequence that he threw in the fight was square, 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 triangle. You know what I'm saying? And that's when we saw Crawford, land like an 8-piece on him when the ref finally decided to stop the fight. Robert Garcia, at this point of Errol Spence's career, yeah, I think it's a better fit than Derrick James. But there's a lot that goes with this situation. This was a guy who basically, I know, made Derrick James a yes man. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure in the past Derrick James tried to confront Errol Spence about his drinking and things like that, his discipline. And I know it was a situation where, he had to just shut up and play yes man at some point. And that in itself is going to be a hindrance for Errol Spence. Like, are you seriously going to listen to Robert Garcia when he tries to tell you good information and things like that? So I see his own stubbornness getting in the way of his own growth. And at this point of his career, this is a guy that's not been dedicated for years. Let's just be honest. This is a guy who does what he wants to do. I think the help would be minimal if they were to rematch, which another thing I see people talking about. I haven't changed my stance on this. I think Crawford gets him out of there quicker. You know what I'm saying? Stops toying with him, because in the last fight, he held him up. I'm sorry. Crawford could have ended that fight, in the middle rounds if he wanted to, such as rounds 5. A ring doctor even had to come in and try to assist Spence, let him recuperate a little bit more. So Crawford definitely held back in that fight. We talked about this before. He didn't even have to resort to too many tools, he didn't have to reach too much into his tool bag in that fight. And we told you guys this from the beginning. I told you this was an anticlimactic fight. It was going to be one-sided. The proof is on my channel. I did get the prediction wrong because I did see Spence getting clipped early. You know what I'm saying? And I had a mid-round stoppage for Terrence Crawford. And again, I know Crawford held Spence up in that fight and kind of let him, breathe and played with him a little bit. He definitely made sure he carved him up pretty good and beat him on all areas, all fronts. You know what I'm saying? In the rematch, again, I see a quicker ending for Errol Spence. I see also where people are kind of commenting on who's the more popular fighter. Again, all you have to do is look at the past to reveal the future, in my opinion. The fact that Errol Spence did unconventional things that an A-side would never do, like Canelo would never implement a coin toss. You understand? And you guys, you were sitting here talking crap the whole time, calling Crawford a diva and things like that. And that's because Errol Spence isn't who you guys ever wanted him to be. You know what I'm saying? This is beating a dead horse, but the proof speaks for itself. The evidence speaks for itself. Even when it came to guys like Sean Porter, you were doing 50-50. You know what I'm saying? You both got the same guaranteed purse, however you guys want to cut it. You know what I'm saying? You and Mickey Garcia, again, that was a 50-50 fight when it came to the money. So you just were never moving like a true A-side, in my opinion. We also see that Terrence Crawford is asking for too much money. The figure that I saw was $15 million. I'm sorry. Crawford definitely deserves it at this point, especially when you guys have pulled all these theatrics and everything else. You're still trying to destroy his character, his reputation, his value, and things like that. It's just, it's retarded at this point. The bottom line is we always know that the PBC's money's always been funny. We've done plenty of videos on this in the past. They pay guys in stipend. Even Wilder and other fighters that came out and had issues with the pay system at PBC. You guys can do your own research. I don't have to come on this channel and cap and just be a flat-out hater. The evidence is out there if you guys are willing to look into that stuff yourself. You know what I'm saying? And to have the nerve to do this, and they did this before the Errol Spence fight, this goes back and ties back with Crawford being a diva. He was asking for too much. You had, what's his name? Tim Smith talking about how, you guys aren't going to buy the pay-per-view and things like that. They've been doing this, and it's the same broken record every time, guys. I don't understand how Like, your hate has to be on such an irrational level where you can still try to predicate being a Terrence Crawford hate channel in today's times, man. I see some of these clickbait titles and things like that. I don't even care to click on that stuff anymore, you know. But I get it. You guys got to get victory wherever you can get it, you know, whatever moral victory to bring yourselves back up. I definitely get it, you know, and I know a lot of you are still dealing with trauma and things like that. So, you know, we've already talked about this. Crawford was prepared a table in the presence of his enemies. It's no secret, guys. A beating like that, and when everything you said was going to happen to Terrence Crawford happened to you, you just can't explain that type of phenomenon. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? And you even had to resort to using your eye being messed up when you were here wearing mouth eye pieces and everything like that. I don't see how people even have the nerves today to even talk crap. And even try to front on the internet at this point anymore. I talked about this briefly on my last slide, but at the end of the day, Spence's best option is still Terrence Crawford. I'm sorry. They're not going to pay him as much money for Keith Thurman, for Fundora, for whoever else they have in line for him to fight. You should have just held to the rematch clause. I understand PBC has to do some pretty crazy things to try to scam money and, deceit and all this other nonsense that they got to do. Crawford, I don't think he's as stubborn as people make him out to be. I really don't. I think he's a very loyal guy. Even when he's getting screwed, he seems to be pretty loyal to people. He was with Bob for many years. That just seems to be his personality. I'm sure if PBC just was honest with him and came to him with respect and things like that, he'd be willing to maybe drop that price. You know what I'm saying? Any kind of money is better than no money, in my opinion. And I think no less than 10 million is definitely fair for Terrence Crawford. Again, you're talking about a gate that was in the tens of millions alone. And again, the pay-per-view buys weren't like, they weren't crazy. They didn't hit 1 million, but it was still a success. You know what I'm saying? This time, both fighters maybe should agree to take a smaller paycheck, especially since I know Spence wasn't getting paid nothing to fight a Fundora. I'm pretty sure he was doing the same type of stipend deal that a lot of those fighters over at PBC are willing to make when they work with Al Heyman. PBC just has to become a more straighter company. You know what I'm saying? You can't just hornswoggle all the time and plot and scheme like Wile E. Coyote and expect good results. Again, a Keith Thurman versus Tim Tszyu fight, and then you had to pull this bait and switch and all this nonsense. Again, I'm pretty sure they didn't make a profit from this fight at all. You know what I'm saying? Plus, we've seen before where companies will use Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury, for example. The first fight, both fighters were only paid around, I think, $5 million guaranteed. Now, I don't remember the exact figures, but it was not in the double of millions. And then the second fight, where they claim they, sold all this money, it's widely known and it's public knowledge that that fight did not make a rematch or did not make a profit. So they just need to be smart, Listen, guys, we didn't hit the milestones that we wanted to hit, but if maybe both of you want to compromise a little bit, instead of a $20 million guarantee, how about, we drop this down 10 each, They just go back to good, plain, old-fashioned business, guys. Just good old-fashioned 1 + 1 = 2. The fight is going to make its money back, especially if you're not, wasting it on guarantees alone. This is a big problem with boxing, and this even affects guys like Canelo. You know what I'm saying? You're paying these guys too much. On the main event alone, before you even enter all the overhead and everything else that you're going to have to equate for, you guys are already like $50 to $60 million in the hole just on the main event alone. In boxing, it's just stupid. And I think they do that, again, because they try to always screw the investors and things like that, especially Al Heyman. We just got to call a spade here. I think it's a way for these people to siphon money, and then they got to continue to do this shady crap. But just go back to the good old-fashioned style of boxing. Make the numbers and the figures make sense. Again, this is still, at worst, a $400,000 pay-per-view fight, and it's still, for example, Spence's best money fight. minus like a Canelo or something like that. But definitely head and shoulders above anybody else that he can fight at this point. And that led to the point where you did have to implement coin tosses and all this other crap, because the way they were going about it, it made Errol Spence's A-side case to be very weak. You know, the proof is in the pudding, guys. You just can't sit here and make up reality like you guys continue to make up. All parties need to turn to the truth on this and just be honest. I think there's still interest in Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence. Again, as well, if you're not paying these guys some obscene money just on the guaranteed purses alone, of course you can make a better you know, undercard and things like that. Maybe get Keith Thurman in there, you know what I'm saying? Have him fight a bum or whatever. That's still better than you know, a lot of these co-main events that I've seen in the past that a lot of these companies are producing. Just make your undercard better overall. And of course, you know, Crawford's a good ticket seller. Spence is supposedly a good ticket seller, although I know Jerry Jones does, you know, or Warren Buffett doesn't need to buy Terrence Crawford seats. Crawford's been proven in multiple markets. So again, I think they just need to go back to square one, what you already had in your original contract. Just lower the figures down a little bit, but you can still have a successful event, you know what I'm saying? And have it at 154. Crawford obviously has his eyes sight at higher weight classes. You know, he's over here benching 400 pounds or whatever I saw the other day. You know, Errol Spence, of course, he's going to have to, you know, do what he did when they first fight. Go ahead and get on them hills and start running right now, fat boy. So let's get this stuff going. Boxing needs to stop playing around. Start making money for yourselves. You know, the drama has been old. You know what I'm saying? It does nothing for nobody. It really doesn't. And I look forward to making another highlight film of Spence getting beat up. So that's my stake in it, all right? But we'll talk to you guys later. Sure, we'll come out with more, all right? Bye.